Next for the pressure cooker is Dr. Luke Prodromou. He's an old hand at this. And that's an old hand, Luke. Do you want the microphone?
Well, thank you. Am I allowed to speak yet? Not yet. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, well, Phil, thank you very much. Experimentation. I'm going to experiment by talking about 3 of my favorite topics. Shakespeare, the financial crisis, and Al Pacino. Let's see if we can make any connections. The topic then is how this wonderful play by Shakespeare, The Merchant of Venice, can teach us so much about the financial crisis. These guys want to have a good time, but they don't have money. They already owe a lot of money, so they need more money so they can lead a really good time, partying, eating, drinking, wining and dining and having a jolly good time with their favorite women, but they need money. So they go to Shylock and they say, look, you're a moneylender, you're a banker, you've got a lot of money, why don't you lend us some money? He says, okay, I'll lend you some money. Okay, what are you going to give me? Well, we don't have any money, but we can guarantee that when our ships come in, if we don't give you the money back in time, you can have whatever is in the ships. And if the ships sink, then we'll make a deal. Well, we don't have, what do you suggest? He says, I'll tell you what, you give me a pound of your flesh. If you don't pay your debts on time, and if all your wealth is destroyed in the sea, then you just give me a pound of your flesh. Just for a little joke. Agreed? Agreed. So this guy agrees, and they wait. They're having a good time. They're a bit anxious about the ships coming back because there are all kinds of risks of storms and sharks and pirates. But Antonio and Bassanio, these 2 young men I mentioned, are having a jolly good time. But unfortunately, they did take rather an enormous risk. And catastrophe takes place when they lose everything. And they have to go back to Shylock and try and persuade him to forget the bond. The bond, if you remember, was the pound of flesh, which in fact means the man's life. So if you can't pay your debt, you may be risking your life. They appeal, everybody appeals to Shylock to have mercy. Don't kill this man, don't take the pound of flesh. But all the creditor, all the banker can say is, look, I want my bond. You made a deal, we stick to the deal. The law says I have a right to your pound of flesh. It may kill you, but that's not my problem. We stick to the letter of the law. But the judge, who happens to be a woman, says, look, you want to stick to the letter of the law? Okay, you have the right to the bond. But the law also says you cannot spill any blood. And you cannot kill this man. He owes you money, and you have a right to your money, but you cannot spill his blood. If you do, or if you kill him, then you will be punished by law. And she makes that famous, wonderful speech about compassion, about mercy, that when somebody is in danger of losing their life because they can't afford to pay their debts, then one response is to have mercy. Because she says mercy is the thing that makes us human. Compassion. He says, no, I want my bond. You give me my bond. But she says, okay then, go ahead, take your bond. But I'll remind you, if you do spill any of this man's blood, or if you destroy him in any way, his life, then you will be punished by the law. You want the letter of the law? You can have the letter of the law. And he changes his mind. The moneylender, the banker, the creditor says, okay, you win. So in the end, justice and humanity prevails. And the moneylender, the banker, is punished for his cruelty and his greed. The connection now with the present crisis. In the 1920s, there was a stock market crash, basically because banks, like now, were speculating, and casino capitalism was as prevalent then in its own way as it is today. And as a result, people lost their jobs, they lost their homes, and there was a great deal of suffering and poverty. The president at the time, Roosevelt, said, we must stop this casino capitalism. We must stop the banks from destroying people's lives. So he made a law, the Glass-Steagall Act, which said the high street bank with people's deposits will be one thing. And the speculators, the investment banks, will be separate, and they should not do the same kind of thing. And he explained why. We had to struggle, he says, with the old enemies of peace: business and financial monopoly, speculation, reckless banking. We know the government by organized money is just as dangerous as government by the mafia, the organized mob. We had to struggle, he says, against the enemies of peace. The banks and the speculators are unanimous in their hatred for me, the president, and I welcome their hatred. The hatred of the bankers, he says, because I should like to have it said of my first government, my administration, that in it the forces of selfishness and lust for power met their match. So that's how he tried to deal with the problem, by separating the two kinds of banks. Bill Clinton in 1999 did the opposite. He changed the law, the Glass-Steagall law, and he allowed both banks to do the same kind of job, the casino capitalism, as we call it today, speculating with people's money. So one good thing, if you like, about this was that loans became very cheap. You could borrow money cheaply. And here in Greece, as you know, perhaps individuals, families, but above all governments, in Greece and in other countries of Europe, borrowed and borrowed and borrowed until their debts grew insupportable. As you can see, they acquired massive debts. But we were having a good time. We were partying and eating, drinking, and being very merry. There we are, golden sunshine, sandy beaches, golden boys and girls, but there is also a danger. You see, the sharks are there in the ocean as we're waiting for our ships to come in, waiting for the solution to our problem. We forgot about the sharks, but they're there, the sharks, and these sharks also tell us, look, you can't understand the financial system. You don't understand how the system works. Just, kind of shut up and do as you're told. But I say knowledge is power. The more we understand about the problem, by reading and discussing these things, the more we can do the right thing by resisting this kind of situation. Because perhaps I should end with these questions. Who are the creditors? Who is the debtor? Who wasted the money? Who borrowed the money? And who are all these bystanders looking on passively? What are they doing? And what about the pound of flesh? What is the pound of flesh? And will it kill us? Thank you very much. Wasn't very funny, was it?